Chapter 10, Tallulah, Louisiana. The sun rose the next day, and the birds were chirping. The smell of honeydew filled the air. The sun pierced through the trees and awoke Wanyinyekevu. He just laid there, enjoying the sound and sweet smell, staring into the sky and thinking about the past few days and how blessed he felt to be chosen by Sabaoth. Now heading south, back on Highway 65, slowly taking his time admiring the scenery. Up ahead, he saw an old abandoned structure that appeared to have been a church at some time. As he approached the structure, the building and his surroundings became brighter, and bright clouds surrounded him. There was an old rusty sign on the building that read, New Zion C. But as he came closer, everything began to change. The grass turned green, the building transformed with a fresh coat of white paint, and the sign read, Crusade for Christ, 1183 Joseph Street. Wanyinyekevu opened the doors, and service went on. People praised, sang, and worshipped Sabaoth. Wanyinyekevu was overjoyed. Sliding into one of the open spaces to join in, he found himself clapping and giving praise to Sabaoth. After an hour, two women approached the pulpit. You could tell they were mother and daughter. The daughter spoke. For centuries now, they have used and abused Sabaoth's people. Because of greed, many individuals continued to do so after abolishing the international slave trade. They stole our ideas and inventions for profit, imitated but never duplicated. They used our very own skin to create shoes, clothes, and even purses. They lynched, whipped, and murdered us, gave us empty promises, destroyed Black Wall Street and New York Central Park, treated us like animals and commodities, black gold, as you will. They used laws called black or slave codes, using deceptive means to create self-hatred and mentally destroyed the idea of marriage among us. The one great sin they have instilled in many minds is the corrupted and perverted ideas of sex. Are we beyond repair? God forbids. Centuries ago, slave sex farms were created, like any other farms. They wanted the biggest and the strongest. They forced orgies, as they pervertedly watched, men having sex with their daughters, mothers having sex with their sons. This is where the MF word came from. They raped our men, women, and children and perverted our family values, but Sabaoth is able. Marriage, in the eyes of Sabaoth, is honorable when two virgins consummate their marriage. The blood from two virgins joining together for the first time makes that marriage holy. They have turned the natural into perversion, and perversion is now called natural. They are not ignorant. They know and knew that most people in the Torah are people of color. They know and knew that people of color, the more specifically, help them become who they are today. They are as little children demanding to be seen, but their actions have done great damage and have caused the world to become as it is. It amazed Wanyinyekevu at how the two women spoke with power and authority as he took a seat and continued to listen and agree with the women. They have taken the word love and replaced it with lust. Through mind games and manipulation, many of our people have gradually become selfish, disingenuous, and rather lay on their back for physical pleasures than walk on their feet doing honest work. PTSD is embedded in our minds, and we have become animals instead of humans, and that was how they treated us. What we need to understand about racism and the white power dynamic so well understood by black scholars like Neely Fuller, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, myself and others, is that it is not just the organs of its body, but it is the skeletal structure. You are still left with the framework when you remove the brick and mortar and all the internals. It is as my son Jamiron once argued so beautifully with his white college sociology professor. Standards. Even when you whites are not operating on prejudice, you are, by its very nature, and based on its implied, if not obvious imperative, operating on the standard of racism they teach you from birth. And that standard he mentioned is driven by a power dynamic established on white genetic survival. Until we get that and the fact that we, no matter where we are in the world, are seen and are a global black nation, whether or not we embrace it and are treated as such, and begin to think in terms of our common survival as does every other ethnic group that are evolving out of us, we will continue to be denied full equality and real freedom. A rock thrown in the pond will have a ripple effect that will eventually disturb the entire body of water. It was Mordecai who warned Esther in the Torah, "Art thou not a Jew?" Meaning, what happens to your people will also happen to you. We may have gained freedom from slavery. However, freedom did not mean free from. The chains were gone, but the system they represented remained solidly in place. Take the drugs from the addict, his addiction remains. Until the mental dependency is broken, he is not free. The Native Americans understood this, which is why they demanded to be separate, equal, and sovereign citizens of their own country. Realizing that it was not about segregation but independence,